Hi everyone, I'm Danny. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a Miss Teen USA recap. Before we get started today, I'm going to ask you guys if you would please give this video a thumbs up if you love it and subscribe to this channel so you can stay updated on all of the new episodes that are going to be coming out next. This year I got to travel to go watch Miss Teen USA, which was really exciting. I missed the preliminary competition, I have to say that, because I was driving over there and I was watching some of it in the car, but then the service would go in and out, so I didn't get to watch the entire show, unfortunately. I caught bits and pieces of prelims, but then I went to go watch the actual finale. I don't understand exactly why the judges picked some contestants versus others. I wish that I could give you guys my opinion on that, but I haven't yet gone back to re-watch the entire preliminary competition. Bear with me. Overall though, a couple things about the show. I thought that the new staging was cute. That's always fun when you get to have a new venue and you get to be the first group of girls that has that new venue. So that was really cool for the contestants. I'm gonna kind of skip over my thoughts on the prelim competition since I don't really have thoughts on it. So let's talk about the finale. I thought that there were so many beautiful girls. There always are at Miss Teen USA. I don't understand what happens from the teen level to the miss level, but I feel like most states for teen contestants are really strong. And then you get to the miss competition and there's a huge group of states that you just look at and you just wonder what happened. What happened? The teens are extra cute, so it's very hard for me to pick favorite teens. I will say this, that I do not usually follow the teen contestants like I follow the Miss contestants. There's a couple girls that were really active on social media, like Miss Arkansas, so she was cute to watch throughout the entire year. She had a lot of personality, so I was a little bit surprised when she didn't make the top 15, but the judges saw something different that day. So the girls that stood out to me during finale for the opening introductions, girls that I thought had a lot of energy and were really cute, were Arkansas, California, DC, Florida, Hawaii, Iowa, Kansas and Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, Missouri, Nevada, New York, North Carolina. Oh wait, I didn't put Missouri. Oh, I did say Missouri. New York, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas, and Washington. I know, that's a lot. That's a lot. I told you, I'm having trouble picking my favorites for this show because they're so cute. I thought that those girls stood out and had lots of energy on stage during the opening number. The only girl that did surprise me was Oregon, who ended up in the top 5. The reason that I think she's a beautiful girl. The only reason I didn't have her really in my top 5, my imaginary top 5, was because I wasn't a fan of her gown, and then her hair looked a bit disheveled. But not only was her hair like that, so was Indiana's. So that was surprising. They had these sort of messy ponytails. I guess that didn't bother the judges, but for me, I like the total package. I like when everything kind of looks like it's in place. I don't expect perfection, but I like when everything's really put together. So for me, it was a little strange, but also I think that could have been because of the activewear competition. The girls were really bouncing around on stage. Okay, so I want to talk about activewear first. Arkansas, of course, you know I'm a fan. She was just adorable. Have you guys seen her Instagrams? She's just so cute. California to me really stood out during activewear, but one thing I noticed was that Hawaii didn't make top 15, and a lot of people were talking about her and saying how, you know, she's the one to watch. And when you saw her on stage, she was facially beautiful. She was just stunning. She's just one of those girls that has a presence about her that you look at her. And I think that what stopped her from being in that top 15, unless of course she bombed her interview, was how over the top she was on stage for activewear. It was just too much for me, and I know that if I were judging, that would affect the score because it was so over the top that it just didn't seem very genuine, all of her routines, and it was just very like, here, hey, everything was just a lot for me. And I wasn't a fan of Hawaii's dress either. The first thing I noticed was those things that were on her shoulder, and I couldn't really figure out what was going on her shoulders. And then by the time I was like, oh, that's like little pieces of tulle crumpled up, then I realized, oh, Miss Hawaii was actually really beautiful and I really liked her, but I was focused on the dress the whole time. So you never want anybody to be focused more on your gown than on you. Florida surprised me. After watching some of prelims, I did see her. I thought she would have been in top 15. She was really fun to watch on stage. She was beautiful. I loved how much hair she had. There was just so much going on there. I really liked her. And I thought her gown was cute. But I feel like that's a lesson that girls need to learn in pageants. The chances of you winning in a gown that was very similar to the last year's winner is pretty slim, because that's what she won in, and you need to win in what suits you. So it was interesting to see that Florida's gown had those tiered layers just like Texas's had last year. I don't think that that's something that the judges necessarily considered, but maybe they did. Maybe they were like, we saw that last year and we don't want that again. I don't know. That's not something I consider. I thought she was still beautiful in her gown, but something didn't work. What's interesting to me is activewear still, because I feel like the level of physical fitness went down significantly from last year, because last year's competitors were preparing for the swimsuit competition and then all of a sudden they get told, no, you're doing activewear instead. So they were very, very fit. But this year's contestants didn't look as toned as last year's teens, and I think there's still confusion between what do we do during activewear. Are we skipping? Are we walking fast? Are we posing? I think that there's a lot of awkwardness going on. Halfway through the show I was thinking I would kind of rather watch swimsuit, because there was just so much awkward everywhere. The poses, the looks, the turns. One girl, who was it? I cannot remember who it was right now. One girl came out and she had a swimsuit wrap over her activewear. That doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Why? Why would we do that? It didn't add to anything. And I think she already had on full leggings and a zip-up jacket, so that was bizarre to me. I took a note apparently that Vermont was not over the top, which I liked. See, I don't like anything where the girl looks like she's trying so hard on stage. I like her to look effortless, so Vermont had that for me in activewear, and it was great. She made the top 15. Good for Vermont. Now let's talk about gown a little bit. One of my favorite things about gown was that Arizona had this really, really long train. I loved her long train, and the dress didn't look as great for prelims to me watching it on the screen, but when you were there in person you got to see it, the gown was outstanding. But what I didn't like was that her head was always dipped very low on stage, so lots of shadows going on her face, and I didn't think that helped her. It did not make her look confident on stage. The whole time I was just waiting for Arizona to stand up straight and tall. I was praying and hoping. California was just on for me. She was. For gown, she had the audience going. Everything was really perfectly timed, how she used her chiffon on stage. She just loved her. DC, I did not understand. It's the evening gown competition, and she flipped around so fast for the finale. Just this huge, like, you know, like hair whipping turn for gown, and I don't understand that, because it's evening gown and it should be elegant. I thought Georgia looked really elegant. I liked her gown on her, the red Sherry Hill with all of the stoning on the bodice, and I loved her headshot. She was my #1 pick for headshots if you looked at my blog post, which you guys should subscribe and check out my blog. I was surprised with Indiana though in the top 5, because she really seemed like a Miss contestant to me, but then it also made sense. That's why she was in this baby blue color, and maybe the ponytail helped to make her look younger, because she really looked like a Miss contestant on stage, and she also sounded like one when she spoke. A lot of the teens have these cute little voices, and Indiana had a very commanding presence and voice, but she was very intelligent, so I do understand how she might be in the top 5. And did you hear she made her interview outfit? It was actually really cute. I've seen girls make stuff for pageants and you go, oh, no girl, no, that was not a good choice. But Indiana's interview outfit was very cute. Check that out on her Instagram. Somebody who I loved that didn't make top 15 was Michigan. I loved the black gown and the little choker thing. I feel like for a teen that made it age appropriate, but maybe they thought the whole look was too dark. And then all I wrote in my notes for Missouri was, wow, just wow, Missouri. When I watched prelim, she stood out to me, and every time she walked on stage, everything worked for her. The long black straight hair, the blue gown, everything complimented her. She stood out the entire time. It's interesting because she wasn't, so to speak, some kind of front runner that everybody was talking about on social media, and I think that had somewhat to do with her headshot. I didn't love her headshot for the pageant, but that girl has a great face on stage. When she's on stage, she stands out. So good for her. The other note I had for gown was, when did this become fun fashion? Why is everybody going out? And I get it if you have a fun skirt on your dress, but for me, sometimes playing with the skirt got to be way over the top. These girls had these huge trains and they were just whipping them around. And instead of whipping them around, I would rather have them just let the dress sit there and maybe do a nice circle turn to show off the train versus flipping it all over the place. I didn't like that. My other notes for the show was this. Something I thought that was strange was after they announced, well, I'm gonna take it back. Just like during the Miss USA telecast, they had these sample videos that they would play during breaks of the show, so the girls had time to change. And they had this roundtable discussion of a couple of the teens, and they were talking about body types and diversity and hair and all these different things that make them unique. And it reminded me of Miss USA and Miss Universe when they started doing those roundtable talks. And what was interesting is that at Miss USA and at Miss Universe, the girls who are in the top 5 or the girls who win the pageant are always in those roundtable talks. I feel like the girls that should be in those segments should be drawn from a hat, just picking random contestants. But if you watch Miss USA this year, Kyra was in a lot of those promo videos. If you watch Miss Universe when Pia won, Pia was in those roundtable talks. There seems to be this correlation with those videos and then the girls that are in the top 5 every single year. And I think I'm not saying that there's a conspiracy. I'm just saying that it looks too coincidental for audiences. So in order to avoid that in the future, I would just be drawing girls from a hat rather than what seems to be happening is girls that are hand selected, which is what I've heard from contestants that have competed at Miss USA, is all of that stuff is predetermined. So that was a little strange, and I remember leaning over to my friend when I was watching it because California and Nevada were in that video, and they have been standouts throughout the competition. They look so different. They're so cute. They're so teen. They have great personalities, and they've been some of my favorites personally. But I remember leaning over and say, how much you want to bet that it's gonna come down to California and Nevada in that top 5? And what do you know? They were amazing. Coincidence? I don't know. You decide for yourself. I thought that should be handled a little differently because there's just becoming this common denominator every single year where the winners in those videos. Moving on, besides that, after they announced the top 15 and the girls were getting ready to come back out and recompete, they had this little music performance by some young guy, pop star, whatever, and I felt really bad for him because nobody knew who he was, unfortunately. Nobody, or seemed to know who he was in the audience. Think about the people that are sitting there. It's a lot of parents cheering on their daughters. It's not like these are adult contestants where all your friends can fly out and drive to see you compete. There's a lot of family members in the audience. So I felt like their performer didn't resonate with their audience, so the audience was dead silent when this guy was performing these upbeat pop songs. And I thought that what could have helped enhance that for the whole audience and made it more fun for everybody is, why didn't they bring the contestants out to be on stage with him? Why didn't they block a little walking routine or something to have the contestants interact with the singer? Because this is who we're here to see. We're here to see the contestants. So I thought that would have been a wonderful, perfectly timed opportunity to get more stage time for the contestants that everybody came there to see. I think that if the girls were on stage with him and they were like dancing and clapping and singing along, then their family members would have been excited, cheering, clapping. It would have changed the entire atmosphere of that performance. And instead it just ended up being this time where everybody was just sort of sitting there. And that was the feel within the audience. And I was watching people around and they were completely ignoring the singer, which was sad. So I think that that's something that could be potentially changed for next year. But let's talk about their onstage question. Impressive. The girls' answers sounded so well prepared that I just wonder if they got similar questions in advance. But really the questions that they were asked as their warm-up question is stuff that they would have submitted on paperwork at some point. So they should know a lot about what they're talking about. But what was interesting is it was all community service based, which is usually a Miss America thing, but they were asking the girls essentially about the difference that they've made in their community. So ladies, that's something to learn from. If you look at former Miss Teen USA videos, the questions were fun. They weren't too deep, but these girls had very in-depth, pre-prepared answers for, so tell us about this one award that you won. And then they're like, and I did this and I lobbied with my local government to create these changes. They were impressive. So be prepared if you're doing Teen USA now for that type of question to come up. And then I thought that the onstage questions were also impressive. None of the girls failed or flopped too much. I know that people were surprised when California got 4th runner up, but I can understand why she did after her onstage question if they take that into consideration. She was talking a lot and talking very fast. She had such great content. I think that she could have used less of it. The other thing that interested me was Oregon went first for onstage question, and her answer was very impressive. And then when I heard Indiana talk about being an American teenager, I said, ah, okay, that's smart. Like that made her seem like a teen. And then when Missouri walked up and they asked her a question, and then she brought up my immigrant background and the work that I've done with all whatever it was that she said, but then she included an as Miss Teen USA. When she said that, I was like, Missouri. If Missouri doesn't win, I don't know who's gonna win. Nevada, interestingly enough, had the opportunity to do that. The way that they worded her, was it Nevada or I forget. It was either Nevada or California, and their question was essentially, what's a major issue facing your generation? Something similar to that. And then how would you as Miss Teen USA address that? Similar kind of question. The thing that I believe California didn't say was, and as Miss Teen USA, I would do this. And a really big common denominator of winners is when they're speaking in that positive language, where they're hopeful and they're present. They're thinking about this opportunity at hand and they're asking for that job. So when Missouri said that, I was like, done, done. And she won. And it was great. And blue wins again. What is it with that blue color in Teen USA? There's blue gown after blue gown after blue gown. Not saying that you should go out and buy a blue gown just because you're competing for Teen USA. Because if blue's not your color, then it's not your color. Those are my thoughts about Miss Teen USA this year, you guys. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel and follow along for more updates on all of my social media at Dani Walker and at Pageant Access on Instagram. Thank you for watching this episode, and please be sure to tune in for the next. Bye!